This is on 3.3 rules for differentiation. So we're going to talk about is multiplication on the first problem right here. I'm going to call this a U and then the other one a V. I'm going to split my paper in half right here because I'm going to do two different ways of doing this, because now we can actually take the derivative of this and show it in two different forms. So the first one is then actually doing the algebra 2. So I'm going to write it as y equals, because I haven't taken the derivative. All I do is going to simplify this. So if I simplify this, I can actually do distribution right there. So x squared times 2x right here will give us 2x cubed. Then we have as x squared times negative 1 will give us negative x squared. Then I go on the inside, 4 times 2 gives us 8x. And then 4 times negative 1 gives me negative 4. So notice it's y equals because I didn't do any derivative yet. All I did was rewrite the problem using my algebra 2. Now I'm going to take the first derivative of this. So when I take the first derivative, this becomes the simple power rule. So it's 2x to the third power. So I bring the 3 down, right? I multiply by the 2, and then I subtract 1 on the exponent. So that should give me then 6x squared minus, and then do the same thing. I bring the 2 down from the exponent, gives me 2x, and 2 minus 1 is 1, plus 8. Because if I bring the 1 down, 1 times 8 is 8, and then subtract 1 on the exponent, anything to the 0 power becomes 1. Okay? And then this right here is a constant, derivative constant is a 0. So this is your final answer right there. So I'm going to show this format right there. The other format is actually using the UV. Now in this simple problem like this, we actually like this format just because it's much easier. But in a little bit more complex problem, we probably will have to use a UV. So this is why I'm going to show the UV. So using the UV, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to start with y prime because I'm actually going to take the derivative. The UV is multiplication, so I start with the u, so I copy my u, which is x squared plus 4, right? And then I take the derivative of 2x minus 1. So derivative of 2x is just basically 2, because the derivative of 1 is a constant, so we're good right there. Plus, because remember in multiplication we have a plus right there. Now I go the opposite direction. So now it's 2x minus 1, and then derivative of x squared gives me 2x. Derivative of 4 is a constant, which is gone. So then that's right there. Okay? So now from here I just need to simplify. So I'm continuing on. I have 2 times x squared, which is 2x squared, plus 8, right? Plus 2x times 2x gives me 4x squared, and then 2x times negative 1 gives me negative 2x. All right, so now we continue on and combine like terms. So I have then as 2x squared plus 4x squared giving me 6x squared, right? And then I have as minus 2x, and then plus 8. So that's my final answer right there. Okay, so that should actually match up to the other one right here. They should always match up. So it doesn't matter which method you use, it's always going to come out the same. So sometimes it actually is easier to do it this way because then we could just do a simple power rule right here. If not, you can always do a UV. And later on, we're actually going to find out it's probably a lot easier to do UV because what if we have it to the third power, fourth power, etc. on these parentheses? You're not going to go ahead and distribute all of them out, okay? So that's one of the purpose. All right, another example I'm going to try is example number 2, is a division problem. So same thing with the division problem, we're going to do it in two different formats. So in the first part right there, I'm going to go ahead and simplify this, similar to what I just did on example 1. I'm going to distribute the numerator right there, and then leave the denominator, and then we're going to take the derivative. So 3x times x squared gives me 3x cubed. And then I have as 3x times x gives me 3x squared. 3x times negative 2 gives me negative 6x. Negative 1 times x squared is negative x squared. Then we have as negative x plus 2, right? And that's just the numerator part of this right here. Okay, so now from here I'm going to actually take the derivative. So y prime is equal to. So we're doing divide, right? So we start with the v, because remember this is your u up here, this is your v down here. So I'm going to start with my v, so I copy my v, take the derivative of u. And so, oh actually I forgot, I could have combined like terms. Okay, so let me actually just go back here and combine like terms, because I can see right away I can combine this right here and also the 6x. So let me rewrite that right there. So it becomes y equals 3x cubed and plus 2x squared, and then minus 6 minus 1 gives us negative 7x plus 2, right? All over x. Okay, so let's try it again now. So y prime is equal to, so I start with my v first because it's division. So v is x right there. Take the derivative of u. So in this case, it'll be this part right here. I'm taking the derivative of all of these in a simple power rule. So 3x cubed gives us what? 9x squared, right? Plus, and then this right here gives us what? 4x. And then this gives us minus 7. And derivative of 2 is constant, so that disappears because derivative of constant is 0. Okay, so that's again the uv part of it. Okay, then I have is, oops, let me go ahead and put uv. Okay, so then minus, and then I do the opposite. So now I copy the u, so 3x cubed plus 2x squared minus 7x plus 2, and derivative v, which is derivative of x, which is 1. Okay, all over x squared. Okay, so that becomes this. So now I just need to distribute and combine like terms. So let's do that. So then I have is 9x cubed plus 4x squared minus 7x. On this one right here, I don't have any distribution because it was a 1. So I'm just going to go ahead and distribute the negative to each part. So it's negative 3x cubed minus 2x squared plus 7x, right? Minus 2 all over x squared. Okay, now we just need to combine like terms. So let's see, 9x cubed and minus 3x squared cubed gives us 6x cubed, right? Then I have, let's see, 4x squared minus 2x squared gives me positive 2x squared. Then I have is negative 7 and positive 7x, so that cancels out actually. And then I have is just minus 2 left over all over x squared. Okay, so that becomes the final answer because I can't combine like terms. If you can actually factor out any x's on the numerator and cancel that from the denominator, then you want to do that. But we don't have any of that simplifying we can do. So this is going to be our final answer. Okay, now let's try method number 2, and the answer should come out to this right here. So if it doesn't, then obviously something went wrong and we have to go back and check it. So now let's try this again. So I'm going to go ahead and do a UV off of this right here, but I'm not going to distribute this right here and do the algebra 2 of it. I'm actually going to go straight into UV from this problem right here. So now I'm going to go ahead and put y prime is equal to, so again, in divide, we start with v, so I'm copying my v right here, derivative of u. Now, actually, the derivative of u is a little complex because this is actually uv right there as well. So let's go ahead and put a little parentheses, and so I'm going to do a uv of this part right here. So I copy my u, which is 3x, right, minus 1, take the derivative v, which is then 2x plus 1, and then I'm going to put plus because actually I'm taking the derivative of the multiplication of here. So I'm working on that one. So since I'm doing that, I have to keep it as a plus. X squared plus x minus 2 times the derivative of v, which is in this case 3, right? So I close my brackets right here, and then I do a minus because that was v right there, derivative of u. The derivative of u is where it became actually another layer of uv multiplication problem. So that's why we had to do it this way right here. Okay, then it becomes minus, and then u, so in that case it'll be that 3x minus 1, x squared plus x minus 2, all of that is your u times the derivative v, which is in this case 1, right? And then all over the denominator, which is x squared. Okay, so I ran out of space right there. Hopefully we'll be able to simplify it further. All right, so now let's go ahead and distribute this right here and distribute. So we'll do the first layer of distribution right there. So then again, I copy my x right here, and then we're going to go ahead and distribute that. So 3x squared times 2x gives us 6x squared, right? And then plus 3x minus 2x minus 1. And then the next part is plus 3x squared plus 3x minus 6, right? That's all on the top part right there. And then I still have is that minus, and then we're going to distribute that next part. So that's going to give us 3x cubed plus 3x squared minus 6x. And then I have is the negative 1 I need to distribute now each one. So negative 1x squared, negative x plus 2. So again, this is all in the numerator still, all over x squared right there. Okay, so let's go ahead and clean this up. I want to distribute the x that's on the outside into each of this part right here so I could drop the brackets right there. So let me see if I can find a space here. So now we got a 6x cubed, right? Plus 3x squared minus 2x squared minus x. And then plus 3x cubed plus 3x squared minus 6x. Okay, so that looks good. So everything up in the top got distributed with the x on the outside minus, oh, this should have been parentheses right here, right? Because when we always do the second part, we probably have to distribute the negative. So let's go ahead and distribute the negative. I have as negative 3x cubed, so I'm going to put it underneath here. Negative 3x cubed. Then I have as 3x squared, which is negative now because of this multiplication right here. So that's going to get us negative 3x squared. And then I have as negative 6x times negative, so it's positive 6x. Oh, things are going to cancel out for us right there, right? Okay. And then I have as negative x squared times that gives us positive x squared. So let's put underneath here, positive x squared. And then I have as negative x times negative 1, so that becomes positive x. And then 2 times negative 1 becomes negative 2. So I don't think we have a room any there. So we have all over. And so now things will cancel out. And this is still all over x squared now, right? So all over x squared. So for example, the 6x's will cancel out, the 3x squares will cancel out, this will cancel out, right? And so now we're left with is just combining like terms right here. So that should give us what, 9? Nope, no. That's because that's cube and that's square, so that's not it. So we just actually leave it as 6x cubed. And then we have then is this right here. Yes, we have to combine these guys and this right here. So actually this is all combined right there. So that's 3 minus 2 is 1, right? 1 plus 1 is going to give us 2. So 2x squared. And everything canceled. And then minus 2 is the only thing I have left over here. So minus 2 all over x squared. Okay? So I think that's it right there. So that's going to be our final answer right there. And let's see, does that match to the previous one? So it's 6x cubed, 2x squared minus 2 all over x squared. Perfect. So that matched right there. Okay? So let me just go over this method again just because it's a little confusing. So I took the u right there. I took the v right there, copied my v right there, and then the derivative of u, I had to do a uv multiplication on this part right here because I'm taking the derivative of u. Okay? Normally if it was the derivative of u, if it was just a simple power rule, then we actually just take the derivative of individually power. But since it's a multiplication problem, I have to do a uv off of this again, another layer of uv. So here's my u. I take the derivative of v right there, right? So that gives us 2x plus 1. Then we go v, so that's this part right here. Take the derivative of u, which is 3 right there. And then I just close it up right there because then that's all the multiplication of u right there. Then I do minus, I copy the u, take the derivative of v, and in this case v is 1, so that's not going to affect anything right there. Okay? So all of that is all in the numerator, all divided by, and then the x squared. So then from there is algebra 2. So again, I distributed each one of these parentheses, distributed this right here. That's what this got us right here. Then I still kept the x on the outside. So then from there, the next layer is to distribute the x's. And then I tried to put things underneath, all the ones that matched as far as the powers. So that way things would cancel out and make it nice and neat. So that's how we got to here. Okay, so now let's go ahead and try the homework problems.